Hi, and welcome to Newsmakers City Desk, the only local show that brings together leading journalists from Santa Barbara, well-dressed, well-coiffed, and well-informed, for inside analysis and behind-the-scenes commentary on the most important news events in our community. I'm your host, Jerry Roberts. Tonight, our all-star panel of reporters and editors will talk about coverage of these stories. The community reacts with fear and loathing as Donald Trump axes the successful, popular, and compassionate DACA program. Democrats worry that a crowded field of liberal candidates will split the vote and help elect a conservative Santa Barbara mayor. The hippy-dippy days are over in the marijuana business as big money and big ambitions get ready for marijuana legalization. A flurry of political controversies over the city's latest efforts to build workforce housing. Our panel tonight, Hector Sanchez Castaneda from KCSB, Kelsey Bruger, National Affairs Correspondent for The Independent, Tyler Hayden, News Editor for The Independent, and Josh Molina, Political Reporter for Newshawk. So Hector, our 46% president has canceled the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA program, for about 800,000 young immigrants who were brought here as children, about 9,000 on the Central Coast. What did you find looking into local reaction?
Well, if there's one word I would use, it's uncertainty. Like a lot of the policy that's announced from the federal administration, it's just announced without really specifics. When the Attorney General gave the announcement, there were no questions answered.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to be.
Right. A reporter shouted, are the DACA recipients going to be deported after the 6 months? And just no answer. And so Tuesday, when the announcement was made, I contacted UCSB Undocumented Student Services, and they referred me to UCSB Public Affairs Department, and then they referred me to the UC Office of the President. And there, they told me to wait for an official statement. And then from there, the official statement started to come from Jan Napolitano, from Chancellor Yang, from UCSB Associated Students, with really strong terms that they will defend current DACA recipients and that they will try their best to protect them. And luckily here in California, these recipients get more than DACA. There's a California DREAM Act, which allows them to, they're eligible for loans and whatnot to attend school.
But surprisingly, at least to me, no demonstrations.
Right, but right now it's summer. A lot of students are home. I would say that they're mulling it over, thinking, organizing. Tomorrow, actually, there's an event over at the Pardall Center hosted by the UCSB Undocumented Student Services, in which they've invited members of the undocumented community to talk about it, talk about their feelings, what they're going through. And then come fall, I'm sure there will be rallies and more outspoken.
In one of the 13 or 14 stories you had in the paper this week, Kelsey, you talked to people who were covered under the DACA program. What were you hearing?
Mixed reactions from people. I think a lot of people expressed feeling scared for sure, and also I was sort of surprised by there was a sense of just, well, we're moving forward. I was struck by, I asked one person in an interview, so is it all right if I use your name? This is obviously this is uncertain times. Maybe you don't want to be quoted in a newspaper. And he said, I've done nothing wrong. Of course you can use my name. Like I'm moving full steam ahead. Like I'm living my life here. I'm not wavering. I'm going to keep working, and I'm not afraid. So, and then some people were more concerned about how this could impact their life. If they're not able to work, then they might not have health insurance, and that could be an issue. So,
so
range.
Almost like people were sort of confident that they would be defended. I guess because California, really does have its separate program. It's so strong behind DACA recipients. It's kind of, you were probably disappointed. The news editor, you send everybody out. You expect to have a lot of epic stuff in the streets and really nothing. Were you surprised?
But there's a decent-sized demonstration before the announcement and preparation for it. And I wasn't personally there, but Kelsey was, and Hector covered it as well. It seemed like there's a lot of energy and pushback there.
For sure, yeah.
In anticipation of what was coming.
No, yeah, Congressman Sulu Carvajal, State Senator Hannah Jackson, all the big names were there. They were singing, they were jumping, they were rallying, ready to defend DACA.
And Salud said that he's a co-sponsor, I guess, of the DREAM Act to reinstate DACA. And given, what the president has done with the Democratic leadership the last couple of days, kind of kissing up to them, who knows what's going to happen. But did you get a sense from him that he thought there was any realistic chance that was going to pass?
Well, he mentioned that the DREAM Act and the Bridge Act, which is essentially the same thing as DACA, which he said has bipartisan support. Based on what he said, I mean, well, he said what the people wanted to hear, what the people there were there for, to defend DACA, to rally. I'm not entirely sure if Congress will be able to do it. I mean, we've seen the last many years politics gets in the way, and I don't know if it'll get in the way this time.
Right, and looking at Congress's track record, I mean, there's not a lot of hope there. So
They never had a deal with Donald Trump before. All right, we'll hear a lot more about that, I'm sure. Okay, Tyler, so there's 5 candidates running for mayor, most of them liberals. How likely is it that a conservative will be elected? Your story seemed to suggest that it's not unlikely.
It's not unlikely. It's less of a long shot than it would be in any other given year, I'd say.
And the conservative would be Frank Hotchkiss.
Frank Hotchkiss. He's the lone Republican in the race, and he's running against 3, I would say, pretty equally matched Democrats: Cathy Murillo, Bendy White, Hal Conklin. Both have big-name supporters, big-name donors, have pretty solid political experience, name recognition. So there's those 3, and then there's Angel Martinez, who is a little bit of the wild card. He is socially moderate to liberal and sort of financially conservative. So there's concern out there amongst the progressives that those 3 Democrats will split the vote, and that with the low turnout this year, the off-year election, that Frank Hotchkiss could potentially take it with as few as like 3,500, 4,000 votes.
Josh, you're covering the race for Newshawk. You agree with Tyler's analysis?
Well, it's what everyone is talking about. It's not specific to any one particular perspective. The Democrats tried to clear the field. They were unsuccessful. They wanted Cathy to win.
Dorocco Larimore Hall, the party chairman, local party chairman, endorsed January 2nd or something. When it was in April, right?
It was in April, and they endorsed.
And the filing didn't close till the middle of August.
Correct. And the idea there is to gain a lot of support early, clear the field, and tell these other people like Hal Conklin and Bendy White to not run, because you can't win, from that perspective, and all you're going to do is cause the leading Democratic candidate to lose, in this case, Frank winning. So that's the scare tactic. That's what they are saying, and they're out there using that as leverage to rally support behind Cathy. Of course, their big catchphrase is Democrats need to learn how to count, right? And that's what people don't like about politics. That's what people don't like, because they're saying that you don't have the right to run because it's not your time. You can't win, so you don't have a right to run. And that's kind of counter to what our human nature is, what we are as Americans. If I want to run and I want to work hard, I should be able to. And somebody who hasn't been in my shoes shouldn't be able to tell me whether I can run or not. So it's a strategy game versus sort of the will of somebody who just wants to run. And in this case, we have Bendy, and Hal wants to come back from previous mayoral. He was mayor for a while. So there are a lot of people who are concerned about this, and Frank is sort of hoping he can go in, but I think it's still a long shot. I think that at the end of the day,
for Frank, the Republican.
I mean, he has a path, but at the end of the day, Cathy Murillo is still the front runner. It's not an endorsement of her or anything. I think she should be mayor, but she has a lot of the traditional power base that people have who get elected to that position. And again, you can never underestimate the power of those field workers for the Democratic Party, the UCSB students, whether you want to say they don't, whatever criticisms you want to levy, they just strength in numbers are going to be knocking on doors asking people, and Frank will not have that kind of field campaign.
She's got the machine, and the other thing with Frank is he doesn't, even though he's Republican, he I think lost some support recently when he had that op-ed in the news press about internment camps and talking about
how they're a good thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but it was an interesting perspective, and I think that kind of blew some people's minds. And I think he's lacking some of that foundational Republican support that will make his path tougher.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce endorsed
there's that too
on
Hell, right, which sort of broke with tradition, and that was a big deal. And from what we heard, it was a pretty unanimous decision amongst the decision makers in the chamber. So. And Frank, he's done some things that aren't super business friendly recently.
Well, if anybody reads that book that he's got out there out loud, well,
how many times have you read it now, Jerry?
Should we have a reading right now? Should we just have like a little?
All right, I'm not going to talk about that anymore. But back to Josh's point. So this notion that, we're going to endorse early and clear the field, it did the opposite.
Right.
I mean, it didn't keep anybody out.
I'm curious, do you know why they endorse so early?
Well, if you talk to them, they will say this is part of our process. This is about the time we endorse.
I've heard that too, but that's not much of an answer. It's like
it's not much of an answer.
And you know what I heard? I heard that they invited Hal to come and talk to them. And then 2 weeks before you're supposed to go, they call him and said, never mind, we've already endorsed, and it clearly didn't keep him out. And I'm not sure why Bendy's running, but it didn't keep him out either.
All of the candidates who didn't get endorsed by the party have told me that the endorsement was made very clear to them who was getting it and why they shouldn't bother. And that is a problem. Right, that's a problem because these people are going to run anyway. It's going to make them mad. I mean, if you tell me, and I'm a politician, don't run
it's like a challenge
because you can't win.
Right.
Well, I'm going to prove you wrong, and if I don't prove you wrong, I'm going to cause you to lose.
Right.
That's sort of the battle that's going on here. But if you were to pluck Angel Martinez out of the race, I think Frank has a clearer path. But Frank is also losing votes, as we know, to Angel. Now, it's not going to be enough probably for Angel to win because at the end of the day, it's about relationships, and more people know who Kathy is among City of Santa Barbara voters than know who Angel is. But maybe Facebook and social media will propel him.
He's got a couple slick TV ads already, and he's kind of ramping up his momentum. So
it's still early. A month from now, could be much closer.
Of course it is. But speaking of counting. I mean, Kathy can count to 2 on the city council. She can get 2 votes. I mean, I think that's Bendy's strength. Is he is a person who can bring people together and get to 4 votes, which is one of the only powers that the mayor has, or duties.
He's a good compromiser and good at brokering that.
Yeah. All right. Real quickly, as of today, in order, who are the top 3 candidates ranked?
Oh boy. I would say Kathy. I'm going to say Angel second right now, and then Bendy and Hal are close third.
What do you think?
Probably Kathy, Frank, Bendy, I would say, and Angel is probably going to today would be at the bottom or second to the bottom. But it is early, and he does have significant support for a first-time candidate. So if he can. He's got to run a pretty close to perfect campaign. He could be. He could be high up there in the top 3, and you never know. I mean, we were surprised last year.
Right.
You can't predict these things.
And I'm kind of basing that on the buzz right now.
Yeah.
That's who people are talking about. That's who people sort of in my groups know about. Where they don't know who Hal is or Bendy is. So, for what it's worth,
you're both underestimating Hal because of this. There's only 16,000 people going to vote. You can win with 3,500 votes. He's already walked the city with his thing once, and he's starting on the second round, and that's what it's going to come down to. And Kathy does that. I'm not saying she doesn't,
but he said something interesting. When he got back from the first round of walking, he said 3 out of 10 people that he talked to, only 3 out of 10 knew there was a mayor's race.
Right.
going on. And most of them, he said, luckily for him, had heard of him, but that just goes to show how low turnout it's going to be.
Very All right. Kelsey, you have written a must-read story in this week's Independent about big changes coming to the marijuana business, starting with tie-dye trimmers, of whom I'm sure you know a number. What's going on?
Right. So as marijuana sales, or as marijuana commercializes, I guess now everyone's calling it cannabis in the cannabis industry. Marijuana is sort of an old school term already.
Because there's so many different products, I've heard.
Right.
Yeah.
So as that's happened, this culture used to be entirely underground. It used to be you'd be in a trailer in someone's living room, trimming weed, trimming bud, trimming marijuana, and as
getting paid well.
Getting paid pretty well, considering you are just sitting still for hours and hours on end, sort of shaping this product, getting paid very well. And what's going to happen is, as the price of cannabis is expected to drop, I mean, it already has. It's expected to be in half, be cut in half by next year.
There's going to be a glut on the market.
A glut on the market. Well, that's another issue because it legally can't be sold out of state. But the compensation for people working in the industry as workers is going to go down. And so I spoke with one woman who grew up, or didn't grow up, but spent decades on Hawaii, trimming cannabis, and it was just it's such a counterculture. This is such a job for someone who's not doing something sort of office, not an office job. It's a whole culture, or other people are living on these farms and they're out in the, they're in the tree houses, So now
you seem to know an awful lot about it. It was good reporting, I guess.
I talked to dozens of trimmers. Yeah, it's a story, Jerry. Come on.
Jerry, those kind of jokes are so 10 years ago.
I know. Come on, Jerry. So
Kelsey was only what? She was only 12 10 years ago. What are you talking
8, Jerry. Come on.
I apologize.
It's all right. So
I criticize myself severely.
It's and the point is that this is sort of menial work, as one person I spoke to put it, that has been paid well, and that's no longer going to be the case. And then you throw in automation, and that changes things even more drastically. So now all of these trimming positions are not going to be entirely eliminated. The trimmers themselves certainly don't think so. That a number of them said, "Oh no, trimmers are never going anywhere."
What about laborers? What about planting and so on? I mean, are there jobs that
there's
will
still
be
going to
gained?
be there'll still be it's a farm. There's still going to be jobs, but and I think a lot of what's going to happen is, historically you had a trimmer and that was your job and you sat still for 24 hours potentially, and now it's maybe you are doing different things on the farm. You're manning one of these machines that sort of looks like this circular pencil sharpener that just sort of destroys, as people told me, this plant, and so. No,
I didn't say anything.
No, it's definitely true. I mean, and so it's the commodification of marijuana.
Ruining everything. Hector, here's the key question: will legalization of cannabis increase or decrease the amount that is consumed in Isla Vista?
Well, in Isla Vista, it's a thriving business. Legalization is just going to, of course, increase it.
Increase it.
Or maybe no change, because it's just so much right now. It's just going to stay the same.
It won't make any difference. Where are we on the local ordinances?
They are moving along quickly. They are coming back for an update in a couple of weeks. So the ad hoc committee has been meeting.
This is the county?
This is at the county. Similar processes are happening at all the cities. So they basically are going to have to issue permits, several different categories of permits depending on what you're doing. Are you growing? Are you manufacturing? Are you transporting? Are you selling in a dispensary? So
So you have to have a separate certificate for each of those?
For each of those things. And then the next question, which is going to be a big one, is are people going to be taxed along the way at each point? So
like a value-added tax.
right. So it's
So what level of taxation are they? I mean, what's the scope of what they're
what are they talking about? Well, it depends if they do it based on a percentage of profit. Or if they do a tax just based on like square footage of where it's cultivated. Probably both. The state is already going to do $143 per pound, I believe. So that's the baseline, and then additionally based on the local.
And the locals can set it wherever they
can-
want?
they
Is
can
there
set
a
it-
ceiling or a floor?
They can set it wherever they want. I mean, they're going to have to set it because it has to go to the voters, of course. So they have to set what they think is going to pass. So
whoever sets it the lowest then would drive I mean, it's like retail, any other kind of retail.
Right,
So if you have a big,
right. And so a lot of these cannabis growers are, lamenting that, well, our product is going to go down. We're going to be, taxed like crazy. This is no longer a super lucrative business. This all of a sudden is, farming isn't exactly super reliable. I think they might be exaggerating some, but, I don't know.
The question for you, Jerry, is you have no problem with vacation rentals.
no, none.
Do you have a problem with people?
And Angel agrees with me, if you'll watch those interviews. Yeah, finally, there's one right-thinking person.
November 7th, we'll ask you if you're on the same side with him on that. Now, you have no problem with vacation rentals. How do you feel about
for the elderly?
for recreational?
That was never.
How do you feel about recreational marijuana sales next door in your neighborhood, out of the house where you live?
Well, we'll that's a whole nother
Well,
show.
probably won't be in residential neighborhoods.
Let me get to that. All right, keep a close eye on that, will you? All right,
I will.
come back and we'll talk about it. All right, Josh, you've been writing a great deal, not as much as Kelsey, but a lot.
I'm almost beginning to think she gets paid by the story, by as much as she writes.
About a lot of contentious developments that have been going before various boards and commissions. My favorite people over there at the ARB. But so what's going on with
This
the
is Santa Barbara. It's the ABR. San
excuse me,
Francisco,
the
it might be
ABR.
the ARB.
I think it's a county. It's go on.
Well, I get it mixed up with the AUD and the
ADU.
and the IUD. This is all one thing in my. Anyway, so what's going on with the AUD and how are we doing on workplace housing?
Well, there's a lot of
Workforce housing.
workforce housing. It's really not workforce housing because the way the developers are presenting it now is it's millennial housing. It's housing for millennials. The new movement is to move the AUD proposals downtown, right, closer to the proverbial restaurants, shops, nightlife, right? Because that's all millennials do is they work during the day at their entry level tech jobs,
Yes.
and then they walk home, and then they go have dinner, and then they have a glass of wine.
At the communal fire pit.
Communal fire pit.
Home, and yeah.
Is that
Right.
what you do? You do that? You do that?
Yes,
I know you're too old to do that. But anyway,
No, I never did that when I was that age. 'Cause,
So
I was
continue.
always thinking about the next 5 years. So that's what they want to do. This housing is not for capital A affordable housing. It's not even for people who struggle to make it work in Santa Barbara, lowercase affordable housing. It's market rate housing. And so they've proposed all this and they've tried to make it affordable by design. It's expensive. The first one
Doesn't work.
The mark's $3,500 for a 2-bedroom.
but they changed the ordinance. They amended the ordinance. They put a cap on it. I mean, is that going to?
They haven't worked out the details, but they said, yeah, staff, we need to figure out a way to put an annual cap on the number here. And there's all these others that are still in the
Is
pipeline.
that going to make the rents any less?
No, I mean, it's Santa Barbara. I mean, you can make 700 or 800 square foot and hope that the property managers charge less, but that's not going to happen. We're seeing it all over the place. You know, we have the ABR criticized the latest proposal, AUD project, saying it looked like San Francisco because it was 4 stories, it was tall, it was
And it was next to houses on either side that are San Francisco architecture. But yeah, that's okay.
Right, but the idea is that these neighborhoods incrementally are changing, because once you have a big one here, then some other developer is going to do this, and then since you support the vacation rentals, eventually Santa Barbara is going to be a lot like San Francisco, and that's what they're trying to.
Oh,
guard
they're
against.
tough on vacation rentals in San Francisco.
Well, because
So in terms of affordability, though, which was supposed to be the key thing, well, we're supposed to build rental housing, and it's supposed to be affordable. We're building more rental housing, but it's just not affordable
well,
by the definition.
all
of
we
the
have to
Department of
measure is the
Labor.
mark so far, because that's the only one where they are actually charging rents, and that one's unique because it's has amenities. There's a lot going on there, so that might be the high end. Some of the other ones, we might see something that's a little bit less expensive, but they're not going to be affordable to family, right? They're so small, no families are going to want to live there. But we haven't built rental apartments in a long time. I think that the idea is you got to let it play out a little bit. We've got to see what the rents are going to be once more of these actually open and are on the ground. But there are a lot happening.
Well, having interviewed all of the mayoral candidates on this very issue, nobody's got a good idea about how to do this, and there may be no city.
Not even your buddy Hal. You picked him to win right here. You said we
did not. I said
you
you're
said we're all-
underestimating him. That's all I said. All right. Thank you all for tuning in, and be sure to join us next time, because Kelsey is going to smoke a bowl and suck down a 6-pack, and then she's going to
I'll show you how to trim.
She's going to trim a half an acre in half an hour. And thanks to tonight's panel of journalists, Hector Sanchez, Castaneda, Tyler Hayden, Josh Molina, and Kelsey Bruger. And we invite you to visit our just launched website, newsmakerswithjerryroberts.com, where you can tune in to our new YouTube channel and check out our interviews with all 4 candidates, and also check out my regular blog posts on politics in Santa Barbara and throughout California. Thanks to our director, Oscar Gutierrez, to our crew, Paul, Susie, and Josue, and our marketing and branding consultant, Maggie Mabuchi, our law firm, Dewey, Cheatham & Howe, and as always, our top-ranking, high-powered senior executive producer, Hap Freund. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time on Newsmakers.